Hi everybody, hope you're doing marvelously well. We are joined today by our good friend Ady from Hit the Road Music. If you don't know about Ady already, Ady has been traveling around, North Africa, recording incredible artists. And one of these artists, Ady, what is the name of this artist?
Today we will work with Naji Soul from Agadir, Morocco.
Well, he has very kindly given us a set of multi-tracks that we are offering up to either A, mix or remix. And we're going to have a competition to win a whole bunch of wonderful stuff from Isotope, Adam, Audient, and of course our good friends Lewitt, who I can see a microphone sitting in front of you there. Plus, of course, Pro Mix Academy, Lancaster Audio, basically thousands of dollars of wonderful prizes. And as we always try to do, we're opening this up to not just mixers, but also remixers. It's a mix and a remix competition. There'll be 2 sets of 3 prizes. So you can enter as a mix and you can also enter as a remix. Ady, you're going to have your work cut out going through all of these because we usually get a couple of thousand entries.
I'm ready for it.
So tell us a little bit about the artist. I'd love to know some more about it.
Hey, absolutely. So this time we just spent 2 years in Morocco and recorded local artists. And one of the artists was Naji Soul with his track Kolo Nga Yan, what means we are all one. It's a mix of the Tamazigh language. It's the native North African language that from the Amazigh tribe. It's the tribe of the free man and woman. A mix of English and Tamazigh. Very, very, very lovely, interesting. Yeah, more like a poppy track that we recorded in Agadir in Morocco a few months ago.
Absolutely amazing. I obviously do know the track, of course. It's beautiful. So what you're going to do is if you go down below here, you'll see a link to Rate My Mix. Sign up for that. What's great about that is there's a community in there where you can post your mixes in there and get feedback and response from everybody. Now, one of the most important things is whether you want to do a mix, a straight mix of it, or a remix is entirely up to you. If it's a remix, please write down remix in the title. It really helps, because some people mix 90% of the song and then only remix one section, which is fine. But, if you want to be judged properly, try to say whether it's a remix or not. That's the first thing. But the second thing is like, we really do have to restrict it to only one mix. If you do it on the first day, this happened last time, somebody put a mix in, they were so excited to give it in, but we had 1 month. And then 3 days later, they're like, oh, can I rescind my mix and give you another one? And the difficulty is when you get 2,500 mixes and everybody's sending 1, 2, or 3 mixes in, it's really, really hard to keep track of them. And I wouldn't want somebody to be disappointed and say, you picked my wrong mix. So if you just want to spend a few extra days on it and just make it just so, or wait a week or 2 before you put it in, that's probably a smarter thing to do than to try and send it in and then realize on day 2 that you really wish you'd turned the vocal up.
Hold your horses and just wait for a week. And just listen to the other mixes and then submit. I did it also at the beginning. I was so excited. I just wanted to push it out. And then after a week, oh.
So Ady, when mixing this, is there any kind of tips that you could give? Things that were maybe difficult or easy or whatever to mix? Is there anything?
We're always there to help. This is a beautiful community. And at first, we have a full mix breakdown of the track, including the recording process and the interview with Naji Soul. So you can meet the artist. And this is the first thing that I would recommend, to watch the interview to get a feel who this guy even is. So you can get the feel in the track and know which elements you want to emphasize in the song. So before jumping into it, check out who the artist is, listen maybe to his EP is out now, the debut EP, and get a vibe for this music, because it's also we got instruments that are not typical in Western music. We got something like the violin. The rebab is the Moroccan violin, a traditional instrument. And here, what is very appreciated by the artists, especially in Morocco, is a tight low end there, but still clarity. What can happen there is that you have too much top end that can squeak in your ears. So watch out for the Moroccan violin, for the rebab. It's all labeled there in the folder. This is one of the tips. Maybe another one, but these are style choices. The djembe is the African percussion instrument. We had a small one. The djembe player came spontaneous to the session, so we weren't prepared. We had a small one. Don't expect a big sound out of it. Just put it, depends what you want to do with it, but I wanted it more in the background just to support the track and give more space for the vocals. But of course, I'm very excited to hear every different style, because we all have different ears and different imagination and make different versions with the same song. And I'm very excited to hear. Maybe you make a fat djembe out of it.
I agree entirely. I think that there's absolutely amazing opportunities here for remixes as well as mixes. Combination, keeping quite a few of the original elements, but maybe retracking some of your own things. Well, firstly, I do want to say thank you ever so much for all of the companies that have given us equipment to give away. There's going to be, of course, 6 winners, because 3 remixers and 3 mixers gives everybody a chance, no matter what you do, whether you're somebody who wants to build a track up from a vocal and one instrument, or somebody who just wants to take the original instruments and remix them their own way, or anything in between, you have an opportunity. Only thing, like I said, is please, if you are remixing it, just mark it as remix in there. I mean, I'm sure Ady, when he first listens, will figure out what is or isn't remixes, but we've had things before where like 75%, not to exaggerate, say 75% is more of a mix and 25 is a crazy remix. And it'd be nice to maybe if it's just at the end, know that.
It's very, very helpful. Thank you.
So this is absolutely wonderful competition. I hope everybody, please enter to win. Have some fun with this. Go and join the Rate My Mix community. It's a really wonderful place. And thank you, Ady. Do you have anything else to add, my friend?
To add, maybe for the remixes, I'm very curious what you're going to do with this track. In general, even when you're done with the tracks, you can use all the elements for samples in future tracks, especially like the reverb, the Moroccan violin. I tried it on EDM tracks with a lot of reverb, with a lot of delay, ping pong delays. You can get crazy with it. So even after the mix competition, please get creative with those tracks and have a lot of fun. Make metal mixes, make hip hop mixes, put 808s on it, fat beats, EDM tracks, whatever you want to do, surprise us. And feel free to join our channel, Hit the Road Music Studio. Our YouTube channel, we have at the moment 75 music videos recorded with artists from all around the world in different genres. Is it world music, traditional music from the local places? I'm pretty sure you will discover new artists for your daily playlist. Thank you so much for your support, and have a great time listening.
Thanks, everybody. Please go down below, download the multi-tracks, join Rate My Mix, and mix to your heart's content. You'll need to complete your submission, have it in by the 7th of January at 11:59 PM PST. That's Pacific Standard Time where we are here. So January the 7th, 11:59 PM PST is when it has to be in by. Very, very excited. Ady, thanks ever so much for supplying these incredible multi-tracks with an amazing artist with incredibly interesting, instruments, to say the least. And thank you. It's going to be wonderful.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us. And I'm very excited for this month. There will be a lot of mixes to listen to.
You're going to have a very busy holiday season, my friend.
Yes, I love it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Ady here from Hit the Road Music Studio, a mobile record studio on 4 wheels. We are currently in Morocco since October 2019. So we are still here. It's a wonderful time. In the city of Sidi Ifni, where Led Zeppelin reunited in 1994. It's directly by the ocean. Just 2 weeks ago, we were in the desert and it became super hot, like 47 degrees. So it's really good to cool down a bit here. I'm a traveling mixing engineer and music producer and make a healthy balance between commercial projects and the artist support project. Means we travel to places where it's impossible for people to make a good record and move on with their music. What we offer to artists in the artist support program is a free or inexpensive music video. We always make some kind of exchange, staying with the band. Like with Dara Tribes, we stayed for 2 months with them in the desert. They showed us the big tunes. And there is always some it's more than just a service exchange. It's a cultural exchange at the beginning of a really good friendship. And this is what the project is all about, to show that we are all one and that music connects us. Doesn't matter where we come from, what language we speak. Today we have something very special for you. We will jump into one of the tracks that we recently recorded with Mr. Naji Soul from the city of Agadir in Morocco. The song is called Kolo Nga Yan. It's a mix between the Amazigh language and English. The Amazigh language is the native North African language, and it means we are all the same. The single is from his latest album that came out on 11th June. And this is our acoustic version that we re-recorded using only Luid mics. Luid rocks. They helped us to bring the microphones to Morocco very fast, and I'm talking a lot, and they were all the time there to help me in the communication. For me, it's just a blessing that we can provide artists now a way better sound quality. A good sound for a good mix starts always at the source. And this is why I'm so happy that we received the Luid mics, because the quality improved massively. I'm not exaggerating here. I sold my old microphones for people who will use them because I know these microphones replaced my old ones. By the way, you can be part of this journey. I created 17 tutorials on ProMix Academy about our journey, how we record world music, rock and roll, rap, and all kinds of music that represent the culture and the country where we are. I have a basic setup. You will see I got two audio interfaces. This is the Focusrite Scarlett here, and I got the very old PreSonus audio box. So I get 16 inputs max for live recordings. For the last 4 years, I used mics that I collected via eBay for the half price, and I made it work. Our music reached out to 1 million people. There are some tips and tricks how to choose the right microphones for the right situations, and how to start the mix, how to bring it further, and how to finish it. This and more you will learn in the ProMix Academy tutorials. And your purchase will help us to move on with the artist support journey. So let's move on. Today, this is the structure. We will jump into the mix. I will show you how I started it and give you some mixing techniques that you can use globally. Also, when we discuss any instrument, we will jump into the section how we recorded it and which microphones we used. And then I show you how I mixed it. I show you global mixing techniques that you can use in every mix and every genre, and my mixing philosophy. I'm pretty sure you will learn a lot today. At the end of the video, we got the interview with Naji Soul talking about his new LP that you can listen now on Spotify. It's a wonderful variety of different styles of music. You have lyrics in English, in his native language, and man, this guy is just the coolest dude. Thank you to the band. One more time, thank you to Luid. Thank you to Produce Like a Pro, to host us on this amazing channel. I'm always happy to share what we learned. I mean, I just started in 2017, got my gear, and just jump into it. There were many intimidating phone calls that I received, and I thought always I'm not enough as an engineer with the gear I have. I thought I'm defined through the gear, but the best gear you can have are your ears. Maybe you heard it many times, so what does it mean? Practice every day. I met people like Steve Morse, and I asked him like, man, why are you so good at the guitar? And he said, practice every day, 1 hour per day. And it's true. Just do it, make it part of your life, and you will become better with time. Essential for me was also ear training. I got ear training software. If you don't want to spend money on ear training software, get some multi-tracks like here. The multi-tracks are for free. You can download them. There will be a link down here. And go through every element. See what makes it fatter, what makes it worse, where can you feel some cloudiness. And get used to it, to words like shiny, muddy, bumpy, digital, harsh, you know, and make your own vocabulary. This is the communication, this is the language of the engineer that will be very helpful for you. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions to the mix, to the mixing decisions, if you have opinions, what could be better, if you like to share your opinion or your approach, leave a comment down there in the comment section, and I will scan it on a daily basis for 30 minutes and will answer you as good as possible. Let's start the conversation, because community is everything. Bring the sunshine and let it shine. sharing is caring, and I really want that you learn something in this mixing tutorial. To get the best out of the mixing tutorial, I created 8 assignments. They will help you to re-evaluate your current mixing stage. They are mostly for beginners, but can also help advanced producers to bring the mixing to the next level. You will get the assignments throughout the whole mixing course, and I hope you will learn something through it. If this assignment speaks to you, take it, do it. If not, don't worry, just ignore it, move on, and do whatever you like. So let's jump into the mix. At first, what you see, I'm using Reaper to mix this track. Reaper makes my life easier. I learned Pro Tools at the beginning, Logic, Cubase, and all kinds of stuff. But Reaper is perfect for me because it runs very easily on the laptop. It's customizable. For example, I just created this button that turns off all the effects at once. I can make a quick A-B comparison, how it was before and how it was later. Yeah, the best thing is with the CPU. It's a very reliable software, and that's what I'm looking for. Anyway, when I get projects in Pro Tools, I can rent Pro Tools for a month, for example, export the stems or work in this DAW. So there are always possibilities. But the best DAW is the one you feel comfortable with. Here we got the track. Let's have a listen. Let's have a listen before we start. So what you can hear, it's a very chilled out, summertime, sitting with a cocktail at the beach track. And the message is beautiful here. And we got a lot of traditional instruments. So what we are using here is the darbuka, played by Aysan. We got the bass by Jamal, vocals by Naji, backing vocals by Naji and Jamal together. Guitar by Naji Soul, he's a wonderful guitar player as well. We got the saxophone by Youssef, keyboard by Mehdi, and the reverb by our dear friend Salah Fafa. And then the FX section. So how I start the mix is without any effects, and I just sort all the tracks that I had and create subgroups. This is very easy in Reaper. It's called folders, and you can see all the tracks below will be routed to this subfolder, and I literally do all the processing just in the subfolder here. That's an exception. Usually I work on the other tracks as well, clean them up, and then make the final processing in the subfolder. It's like the sub bus. Then we got the parallel compression, bass, and so on. And then what I always do to not get confused in my mixes, to know quickly what's going on where, is color coding. So my color coding for percussion, for drums is green, bass is blue, vocals dark blue, and so on. And I keep it in all my mixes. This makes my life easier, makes mixing faster, and this can be very handy, especially when you handle more and more clients. At the end, I always put the FX section. So here are all my reverbs, delays, harmonizer, doubler, and what else? What else we need? So when I start the mix, I zero everything, every instrument, and I just, without touching any EQ or any compressor, just start to pan things around. I check for phase. For phase you can check, for example, with a phase meter. Okay, this is a free plugin from Ozone, and here you got the meter that shows +1. This means your track is in phase. 0, start to have problems. -1, you have phase issues. And the problem is with phase issues, when you have them in your mix, you will over EQ. You try to compensate for something that can be solved very easily. Sound waves goes plus minus, you know, this is how a sound wave looks like. So always when the sine wave goes plus, positive, it will push the speaker out, and when it goes negative, it will suck it in. The thing is, out of phase means one source goes up, the other goes down, so it will push and suck the speaker at the same time, so it will compensate the sound. You will not get this fatness. This is why I start all my mixes with phase, to check phase. Let's have a look here. It's just perfect in phase. +1, it's just sticking there. And how I'm doing it is I go into every element. I check, for example, if they are in phase here. For example, let's say the drums, the darbuka. Zoom in now. I can see the sound waves going up and down, and they are both, they were a little bit out of time, so you can just drag them that they start at the same time. And if the sine wave would go down and this one up, you can always switch the phase polarity. The best way for the best result is to check it in the recording phase. I'm doing it with the close mics, but not with the room mics, because the room mics, they are far away. I check that the room mics are in phase, of course, but I don't want the room mics to align here, because they are making the room. This is why they are further away, and this will give the illusion of space, that it's wider, more far away, deeper. Yeah, so don't drag the room mics here to the close mics. It will kill the effect. Assignment number 1. Go back to an older mix of yours that you had really trouble with. Get the free phase correlation meter. Maybe you have even one already in your toolbox. Put it in the master bus of your old mix and check if you have phase issues there. If you have phase issues, try to create a new project and remix this track, but this time check for phase at the beginning. Also, try to implement the phase check into your daily mixing workflow. 10 minutes of time can save you hours of trouble and headache. After I check the phase for the whole mix, I put all the faders down. I check it first for the percussion elements, hit play, and bring the faders up so they are by -6 dB max here on the scale. So you will see now it jumped a little bit over because these are the harsh hits. At the initial phase when I mixed it, it was way lower, it was by -6 dB, then I bring in the bass, I make a balance with the ear and the percussion, and I try to make a final mix that it stays by -6, -3 dB. So I have still enough headroom for some mastering. After I got this, what you can do is to save the project, save project as. If you're new, this is what I did always when I was new. I just saved the project, I saved the initial mix, the initial balance, and worked on the new project file. So I have always a backup to go back if I messed up something. In general, mixing philosophy for me is to get the direction by talking with the artist, how he imagined this track. I'm asking always for reference tracks, listening to it, and it's not the aim to get the same sonic spectrum. You record it in your bedroom and you try to aim for a sound like Blackbird Studios. It can be a fun project, but don't stress about yourself because A, they use different mics, different artists who are playing, for example, for 20 years, different room. All of those factors are very important in your mix. So you can rather check for a balance or something like punch or energy for a reference mix to go in this direction, but not necessarily to get the same shine for the drum ride, while you use some used broken cymbals, for example. Sonically, it's not possible, so don't stress yourself. Always give the best and find a good balance. If you have a good balance, it will be nice for everybody. If you get the punch out of it, it's perfect. When you can feel the depth, you get close to those recordings. And then upgrade step by step. This is a tip for young engineers. I hope this can help you. So after we got the balanced mix, I always start with the percussion. And I love to mix while hearing the track. I solo, of course I solo, to hear for some issues, to listen to some issues. For example, I have some noises there. I get the idea of the frequency. And what you can do, for example, this is something that mixers in the analog world are doing, is to listen to this element in solo. Just a second, I will save the project because this is the final mix and I don't want to mess up anything. Save. And now I work directly in the new session. So I solo this track. And just for a short amount of time, just boost it. You make it louder, you hear what's going on, and your brain will remember it. And after you have the balance for the djembe, you can. So I know now what is the bass doing compared with the djembe, and it's easier for me to spot issues later. Now let's go to the juicy fun part. Let's listen to the djembe from our friend Aysan. And at first, let's go into the video how we recorded the djembe. Here we are with incredible percussionist Aysan. And we chose today the djembe. And for the djembe, what I used was the Lewitt MT440. Very crispy top end to get the attack when playing the djembe. And then the Lewitt 340 Rex. And I absolutely love it. There is a switch. And because it's a very tiny djembe, so we don't have this massive low end here. So with this switch, when I hit the plus button, I have a low end boost here and a little bit more of a top end, like 4 to 6K. What is perfect, especially when you have a kick drum, here it gives more presence and more punch in the djembe, so I have to add less later in the mix. Thank you so much for playing, man. Ifulki. Maki Mzien. 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 So for the djembe we use the MTP 440 on top of it to get the right amount of clack and click. And then we use the Rex 340 with the boosted option to get a little bit more low end. Let's have a listen without the processing and without parallel compression. So you see it's around -6 dB. And now let's listen without the room mics. For the room mics we use the L40s, matched pair. And I love this direct sound. The direct sound is really punchy, but I use the room mics to make more space in the mix, to give more life to the mix. What I don't liked in live recordings, and this is something that I had to jump over, is that the elements sound isolated in a mix, like this is the djembe, boop, here's the bass, boop, here's some other element, here's the guitar. So they sound like a puzzle and like a block, like not playing together. And with help of the room mics, it really glues all the elements together and make a nice mix, like a nice new element, the synergy in the track. This way, you know, you will have more tracks. Of course, some engineers are complaining with this, but I love to use the DAW and the possibility that I can have more tracks to bring more life into the recordings. So this is why I use room mics for every element as well. The room mics are hard panned, left and right. Let's have a listen to them. And what you can hear are the reflections of the room. We kindly recorded in the flat from Aziz. He invited us to his house, this beautiful Moroccan house. And the room plays a big importance in the recording process. There were tiles, and you can hear like a very shiny reverb, very high gainish. The high frequencies were reflected very heavily. Usually when you are in a concrete room, you get more of the bass, of the low end, probably also some low end problems there. But there we had a lot of windows, something that reflects very harsh frequencies here. So let's see what we did here. At first, and this is my favorite trick on acoustic elements, is to use something like isotope trash and some parallel distortion. Distortion is like compression but heavier. You can use just a simple compressor and compress hard and you will hear clipping. So distortion is just compressor clipping at the end, and it brings more life out of the instruments. It will enrich the harmonics there, the natural harmonic series, and you have more life in the instrument, more punch. So my favorite is the this isotope trash. Have 1 gazillion options here, but I love the tape saturation preset, and then I have wet dry button, the mix, and I make it just 50-50 and blend it into taste. Let's have a listen without. No with. The lower mids get more emphasized and I have way more color from the djembe. Then we go into my favorite channel strip, and that's the SSL 4000E. Let's see how it sounds with. Without. And I'm just adding more what is there. So what I'm doing here is cutting 52 Hz because it's very muddy down there and I don't need the frequencies here. And I'm cutting top end. The top end is very special in my mixes. I reserve the top end for the most important elements. What you can do with top end and low end is to bring elements way further in the mix or put them more backward. This is a very simple and effective trick that should be in your mixing repertoire. When you cut top end, it will sound way deeper in the mix, more farther away. And I don't want it to dominate the djembe. I wanted it like more in the middle of the mix to give the foundation together with the bass. I'm boosting here 3K. This is something I'm doing all the time. I love this frequency in the djembe. Gives more punch, more smack. And I'm just boosting more low end. So when I'm cutting here by 52 Hz and then boosting in the shelf section, it will narrow down the Q a little bit, you know? So I'm getting more low end that was still, that I wanted to emphasize in the mix here. And I'm boosting by 3.4 dB. What I'm doing also is the pre-dynamic section. I don't know if I'm compressing, let's see. Okay. The djembe is a very dynamic instrument, so when he's hitting, you have these spikes, these peaks when he's hitting. So you have a very high dynamic range. When you just boost the djembe, you will clip very easily. When you have the level too low, you will not hear or feel the djembe in the mix. So what I'm doing is, step by step, just cutting a bit from the attack. it will smooth down the djembe and give a more pleasant sound to it. It's one of the things that I learned during the time recording world music. So I'm going into the pre-dynamic section with the equalizer. So at first I EQ, and then I'm compressing. Some people like it the way around. For me, I just go with the feel. I check, does it sounds better with the pre-dynamic or after the dynamic section. I have a very fast release time, slow attack, and compressing 5:1, and compressing maximum -3 to -6 dB. And only in the peaks. And then what I love is to use the limiter, L1 limiter, super easy to use, and just limiting again -3 to -6 dB here. And that's all the magic. After this we are jumping into the Darbuka parallel compression, and here I use my favorite parallel compressor TG12345 on percussion and on drums. Amazing channel strip with a very harmonic bass. I don't wanted to add more bass there. I wanted to give the space for the bass guitar. By the way, my philosophy when mixing world music, I have a rock background, punk rock background, metal background, and I try to see what instrument can substitute, for example, the kick, what can substitute the snare. This would be instruments like bandier or others. You can learn more about these instruments in my other tutorials on Pro Mix Academy. Here we just use the djembe, and the djembe usually is more treated like a kick drum for me, with more top end and more low end to give the driving force here. I'm not using the EQ section at all. I'm just compressing it a little bit and go again into the limiter for the peaks. This gives way more weight to the djembe. And this compressor is just amazing, and it brings more out of the room mics, and I feel the track, like the djembe, is very boring without this parallel compression, without the room mics here. And let's listen without the master bass on. So on the master bass, I do some. These are the last moves that I'm doing, but what I always have on is something like a L2 limiter, just to tame those peaks that the master bass is not all the time on red. And that's it. I'm using a SSL style compressor in the most typical settings that everybody knows or should know: threshold to the maximum, attack on 30, release on auto, and ratio on 2. That's just for the beginning. Later I can tweak. If I want more compression, I go to a ratio of 4. And yeah, so let's move on without the master bass in, and we go at the end of the section to the master bass to see how we can bring the sound further. So here we go, we have some more excitement in the djembe, and I hope you learned some good tips here. If you have more questions, leave a comment down there, I'm more than happy to help you. I structure my mix with the most important elements that I want to emphasize, that have the most weight in my mixes. And this is usually the rhythm section. So for a rock track it would be drums and whatever they have. Then would be the bass. And when the foundation is laid, the rhythmic foundation is laid, I go directly to the vocals, and then backing vocals, and then the rest building around in the track. Every approach is different, everybody has his own approach, and this is just something that started to work for me over the past years. Here's the second assignment. Re-evaluate your mixing style. This is a really hard one, but think about those questions. When you start mixing, do you have a starting point in mind? Or do you just put on the multi-tracks and see what you can do somehow? Do you have the end already in mind and want to know where you want to bring this mix, from the raw mix to the end? Are you talking with the client at the beginning and get reference mixes to get their vision and their idea on how they want the mix? Do you start with a raw mix? Maybe it can be helpful to put the tracks into a template, turn off all the effects, make a basic balance, and then put the effects back to bring the tonal quality. If you don't do any of those points, then now it's time to think about it and make a change. So let's go to the bass. And now I really take care that the bass interact very harmonious with the djembe. So let's check it out. We just have a bass DI. Here we have a short video on how we recorded the bass. Hey.
Rolling.
Good. Awesome. Here we recorded the last instruments with Mehdi and with Jamal. And this time we don't use any microphones. We went just direct in when I can from the keyboard, stereo out directly into the box. And with the bass, I use usually the DI signal, so we didn't use any microphones here. Anyway, thank you guys. It was a beautiful performance.
And, thank you for that. Thank you.
That's it. Thank you guys.
Good.
That's it. The song is
Perfect.
done.
Woohoo!
So today we didn't use any microphone for the bass because it was not needed. What I would use for the bass guitar would be the Rex 344 from Lewitt. So let's listen to the track without effects. And I think Jamal had his Fender jazz bass with him. I'm not more that sure. So what I did here is a mix of, and this is a trick I learned recently in Billy Decker's mixing template, always trying to implement new mixing techniques and learn more. Just to use the max bass and EQ, but I put the 2K back. So what I'm doing here literally is cutting everything below 80 Hertz. Not like steep, you know, I want still a little bit from the lower frequencies here. But what's happening here, when you are cutting the bass by 80 Hertz, there will be a short bump in this frequency range. And most of the time, the frequency range for the bass guitar is by 80 Hertz. This is where it lives. I'm boosting a little bit on 116, just to emphasize this low end here. And then what I love in this music, what's important for me, is more clarity also on the higher notes, to get more from the melody. Because when I just emphasize the low end and they are playing all the melodies, it can wash into a mass of bass, you know, like a brr, 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 brr. So when I have the clarity, I treat it a little bit more like a guitar and it sounds way more melodic. So boosting 5 dB on 2K, cutting by 80 Hertz and 2 dB on 116. And then what would be in the template would be to add max bass. It's a subharmonic bass generator. But then I mix it with my own techniques and use the console SSLE for 1000 again. I'm cutting everything below 72 Hertz, like cutting again. I want it a little bit cleaner there. And I'm cutting a lot of top end, everything above 9.6K. And then I boost 7 dB in a shelf from 2K up, everything just get emphasized, a little bit more clear. Again, the same trick, cutting and boosting at the same time, changed a little bit the cue. The next thing I'm doing, boosting in the bell set up 1.4 dB on 80 Hertz, pre-dynamic section, compressing, 3 to 6 dB again. I love it. Release it quick to pump it a little bit. We want to pump up the bass a little bit to bring more excitement into it. Bap, 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 bap. If you would make a long release time, it would just stay there and choke the bass like bop, 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 bop. And it sucks out the life of it. I don't like it really. So this is just the first stage of compression. It's a little bit lighter than the next one. And for here, I'm using the CLA 76. And compressing between 5 to 7 dB, really choking it with a middle attack time, fast release time again. And is it the fast? I'm always confused with this one. Let's see. Yeah, this is the slow release time. We're using a fast one. When you're using this compressor, watch out to have the noise off. Sometimes it can be very nasty in your mixes. After we got this, I go into the MV2 to even it even more out. Yes, man. To make it more even here. And this brings more presence to the bass. So what this easy compressor is doing, it's taking the low level information and boost it up, and taking the up level information and put it down, so you have a more even bass. But somehow it brings more excitement there. Like 3 compression stages make this bass super exciting. Let's listen one more time without, just to compare. Can you feel it? Fantastic. And the last one, what we have here is the subharmonic generator max bass, and it adds more of the frequency that I would love to add. Here we are by 80 Hertz again, boosting, creating the subharmonics for 80 Hertz and giving this oomph, this that you can feel in your gut. So here is a mix button between the original bass signal. The max bass signal is boosted plus 1 dB. The original signal is by minus 8.5. But I wanted it a little bit more dirty. You know, this sounds like a very exciting, more dirty bass. Then I check in the mix. Bring the sunshine and let it shine. And the best way, I tell you, it's the best way to evaluate what you are doing in your mix is to always mix with all the elements on and then use the mute button. Bring the sunshine and let it shine. If you smile, if you could smile, no matter who you are or where you are. Like this, I know, man, this bass is really adding something to the track and give the whole floor there. And you feel that something is missing when you mute the bass in your track. If you mute the bass in your track and you don't feel this lack of low end, you have to go back and work on it. This is very important with the bass. It's crucial for the mix. When you're unsure with the bass, what you can do is go back to your reference tracks, only for 30 seconds or maximum 30 seconds, 1 minute. Listen to the low end in the reference track and then turn it off, go back to your mix and listen directly and see what is lacking. Can you push it up a little bit more maybe? And you will find the right balance intuitively. Assignment number 3 is create a Spotify playlist or YouTube playlist or whatever you're using playlist with your favorite tracks where you think this is mixed in the way I imagine my mixes in the future. Now we go to this beautiful voice from Naji Soul. Oh, before we go to the beautiful voice from Naji Soul, I will show you now my FX section, because I'm routing these elements to different effects, and these are some effects that I use all the time. So for the bass, we have something called parallel compression beat all, and I make one parallel compression bus at the end where I route all the rhythmic and melodic instruments and compress them very hard. I'm using the SSL compressor with a threshold, with a faster attack time, quick release time, 0.1 second, and a ratio of 10:1. Let's have a listen. And how I do it, in Reaper, here I can see everything that the track is receiving. The djembe goes full power here, the bass goes a little bit lower because you can hear it's almost at the border to be too muddy, but I still wanted to emphasize it here. The guitar is going full power, the keyboard are going full power in here, and they give more texture and more consistency in the track. Then I have a FX section. I have a subfolder for it, so if I want to hear what the FX are doing, I can just mute them. Have a listen to the song. If you smile, if you could smile, no matter who you are or where you are, you will be fine. And I love both versions. There is a big discussion between engineers how much reverb to use, not to use it, if you even should use it. I tried my last mixes last year without using reverb, but just using a little bit, but I'm back to it because I just love it. One thing with reverb is don't apply it in solo, because on solo it will sound beautiful, but you have to take care that it will not swamp your mix and make it muddy or wash it out. You know, the idea between the reverb that I'm using is either to bring more excitement as an effect. We have something here with Naji's voice that I will show you, how we use reverb and delay as an effect, or really just to smooth it out. And I thought the smoothing here is just perfect. It just fits perfect to this vibe of it. And first reverb, it was just a reverb that I put in for the vocals at the beginning, but it worked perfectly. So I just kept it in. And what I use all the time is a slapback delay, usually for vocals, and the stereo delay. Sometimes with a compressor, so the voice is ducking the delay. And you know this trick? So you can route the voice to the compressor, and the voice will duck the effect, and when the singing ends, there will be more of the delay. So the delay will won't be in the way of the original vocals. This is called keychain input, and every DAW have this option. In Reaper, I can use the rear compressor, make an auxiliary input left and right, and just route the voice there. Then I got the instrument delay to space all the instruments, put them into the same space. And here we got the djembe, guitar, the keyboard, and the rebop. Then we have a small room reverb. Sometimes I'm using it, sometimes not. Big room reverb, I'm using it only for effects most of the time. Then a harmonizer left, harmonizer right, and the vocal doubler. And the harmonizer left and right, it's the Soundtoys little micro shift. It have 3 different options. Let's jump into it. I'll just solo it for a second. It's like a detuning plugin, so it will detune. I hard pan it left, hard pan it right. I put the vocals there, and it will detune it for a few cents, like a little bit up, a little bit down, and then I blend it into the mix to fatten up the vocals. When you bring it too much into the mix, it can mess up the vocals. It can have a phasey effect and doesn't sound good, so you have to find the sweet spot. The next one here is a Vox doubler, and I use the real ADT from mono to stereo and this gives the same effect, a little bit more flangery effect to it, and also fatten up the vocals again.
Bring the sunshine and let it shine. If you smile, if you could smile, no matter who you are or where you are,
Without.
you will be fine. In the celebration, bring the sunshine and let it shine. You work and you sing.
Assignment number 4. Start to create your own mixing template and increase your workflow. What you can think about are, for example, FX that you use all the time, like a long and a short reverb, quarter delays, 8-dot delays, ping pong delays, maybe the harmonizer setup, anything that you are using in every single mix that you have to add usually manually back there, set it up, and lose a lot of time on it. Also, if you have some typical moves like adding 80 Hz to the bass, just some basic shapes, try to put it all into a template, reevaluate your workflow, see what you really can outsource, and just put it into the mixing template at the beginning. It will make your mixing style way faster, what is good when you start to have more and more clients, and it will open you for creativity, not the way around. And when you spend 1 to 2 hours just to setting up your mix and doing all these technical things, then it will be hard to get into this creative flow because you're already getting tired. With a mixing template, it doesn't mean it's written in stone. If you want to use a different compressor for its style, if you want to use a different equalizer or a new equalizer, it's always easier to exchange it. But it's cool to have a reference point and see, I can exchange this equalizer and put the same settings there and see how it sounds. So, because you don't do the tedious task of setting up your mix, you are way faster in the juicy part of mixing. So, let's jump into the vocals from Naji. And at first we watch the video how we recorded, and you can meet this gentleman.
The sunshine and let it shine. If you smile, if you could smile, no matter who you are, where you are, you'll be fine. In a celebration, Kolo Nga Yan, Kolo Nga Yan, Kolo Nga Yan, Kolo Nga Yan.
Awesomeness. So let's have a listen here into the vocals. Let's turn off the effects at first and turn off the parallel compression. I got 2 stages here.
Kolo Nga Yan, Kolo Nga Yan, Kolo Nga Yan, Kolo Nga Yan, Kolo.
Let's listen without the effects.
Kolo Nga Yan, Kolo Nga Yan, Kolo Nga Yan, Kolo Nga Yan.
And what I absolutely love on the Flex 441 is the frequency range that it captures. The old mic that I had, it was perfect. It was a cheaper model. And when recording, it sounded like mixed and like, wow, this is perfect. But then later when the mix advanced, I had a lack of frequencies. I had a lack of low end there. I couldn't bring up what was missing and could really make this vocals shine. So here, the vocals are really up front. You hear a little bit more of the low end, what I really, really like there, because it brings the warmness out in the voice. When there is too much, I can always cut it. The other thing is, when it's not recorded, you can't edit. So, big bravo for this microphone. And also the artists are loving it, because there is a teeny tiny computer. I don't know if you can see it. Here. And I can choose the mic pattern here. And some would say this is the cardioid, the heart shape. For some it's a butt. And the artists are just loving it. Just seeing this computer, something is shining there. And yeah, it sounds great, it looks great. And it has some special features that makes life interesting. So I'm just loving it. That's why I sold the other mic directly. Anyway, what we are doing here with the vocals. we split the vocals into 2 sections because the song is in D sharp minor or E flat minor rather, ES, and in D major 7. The bridge is in D major 7. It's very important because we had to use a little bit of autotune here. To be fair, the band just met on the same day. They had 2 rehearsals of the song, learned the structure, and just started doing it after a long day already. And they love autotune. It's just a helpful tool. When it's needed, perfect. Just use it. Have a listen here.
Kolo Nga Yan. Kolo Nga Yan.
Beautiful voice. Just a beautiful voice. So at the beginning, this I'm not using. I just used it in the mix. So he have a little bit more of his voice there. Autotune, speed, 40 milliseconds. Yeah, here's the note transition. Here's the speed, how fast it's moving. So we don't want this artificial effect here. Just to correct it a little bit more. Yeah, just a little bit, just a touch here. So how it works, you choose the right scale, D sharp or E flat, it's the same. And now I made the music theory course and it's called enharmonic equivalent. Woo! And the same I did here. And a little bit more de-essing. But for D major, so no sharp here. And then we go to the dirty part. I start with the equalizer, with the Brainworks console. Have a listen what it's doing. And here I don't have hard feelings for over EQing or... I don't know where these terms come from, over EQing, because I just EQ, I listen to the voice and see what do I need. More top end, I boost more top end as much as it's needed. There is no EQ police that will fine you for boosting 6 dB or 10 dB or 12 dB. So just go for it. 4.8 kilohertz, boosting 5 dB in a narrower Q. This is for me a range. I always go there, I always listen to the voice. And it brings the voice more forward. So here I want to spice up the high frequencies to bring his voice forward. The high frequencies are reserved for his voice and usually for solos, guitar solos or whatever in other mixes of mine. I'm cutting the low end by 93 Hz to make it a little bit smoother. Pre-dynamic section. Compressing maximum minus 3 dB maximum, and then going to the next compressor, and I compress in stages. Minus 3 dB max again, and with the RVox, one knob, perfect compressor. I love it. Seems like the compressor is adding a little bit more, emphasizing a little bit more of the low end of the voice and bring the nice parts of the voice out. I really like this one. Then a de-esser. When you're compressing, try to add the de-esser after it, just to attenuate some spikes here. We had some harsher S's and I just cut them manually. I love to do it, no problem. Often in mixes also, I love to keep the breaths, but I used some special parallel compression that over-exaggerated them, so I just cut the breaths manually there. And this is one of the secrets in mixing, to have a good source. This is my biggest secret. If you want to be a great mixing engineer, I think editing skills are so important to clean up things and so on. I had a recent artist I was working with, and I should do the mastering. I listened to the master, and the S's were exaggerated in the reverb and the delay, and it was like pfft, and psh, this S was just flying around in the whole mix. And I offered her, it was the first time we worked together, a fantastic contact, her name is Leila K, and I offered her to just do the editing. I'm always honest. I say, hey, I can't fix it in mastering, I think the track could be better. Sent me the raw vocal stamps. She contacted the producer, no problem. They sent it to me. I cut it out. Now we are working on more tracks together because, it's important to go also this extra step and build a space where you can be honest to each other, and to build the space and share openly what can be better in the final stage, because the track will be there forever. So you can do your best. Even if I was hired for mastering, and I'm not like, okay, I will just do mastering. I will make it just louder now and better and perfect. We went just back to the editing phase, and now everybody's super happy. The song reached out to 20k people in the first month, and yeah, really happy. Go this extra step, learn editing. My editing exercise was, I took a podcast from my girlfriend and put the task to cut out every single breath in a 1.5 hour podcast. It took 6 hours, and now I'm just so quick. I can see breaths and just cut them in milliseconds. I'm editing ninja. Assignment number 5 is not the biggest fun, but it's so crucial. Get better in editing. Assignment number 5, get better in editing. Put it as a task this week to check out 3 editing tutorials. One with editing best practices, one for vocal editing, and one for drum editing, because this will be the 3 crucial parts. And here's another challenge. Take a friend or take a local band that don't have money, invite them to your studio, to your home studio, and record the same track without a click live 3 times. After you have these 3 takes, start editing for example, the first verse from the first take, and put it into the first verse in the third take. Try to cut 2 parts together. It's really important that you don't record on a click, just a live performance. It will be hard, but it will help you to become the ninja in editing. I'm curious what you come up with. If you want, make a music video out of it and put it on YouTube, send it to me. I'm very happy to see what you are doing. You can support your local artists, and maybe this is the first step that you get hired for the next time. So perfect, we got this. So we have the Pultec EQ on the vocals. What I learned now from Mr. L. Schmidt, may his soul rest in peace, and thank you for all the heritage, everything that he left us, all the knowledge and the good energy. Boosting 100 Hz with a Pultec style EQ is really good for the voice. And I didn't know it before. I was for a long time stuck like, oh, I cut everything what is there in the low end. And now I'm just adding a little bit more, because here, this is cool with the Lewitt. There is a lot of low end already there, so I don't have to boost too much. But here I'm just boosting like on 1. I don't know what means 1, but when you boost and attenuate with a Pultec style EQ, you boost it and cut it, so you narrow down the Q. I'm doing it always by listening to the rest. And absolutely minimum moves bring his voice so much further here. So here I can use the bandwidth. This is the second section. From a broad to a sharp bandwidth, I use the frequency 12K, a little bit broader bandwidth, and boost it 1.5. I don't know what it is, maybe dB. And this just makes his voice shine, make it clearer, bring it up front in the mix. I really like this one. The next, this is something that I do later. So for me, the vocals would be ready now. And later, when I'm mixing all the other instruments, I adjust the voice again. I come back there. And here I cut it minus 1.1 dB on 360 because it was too muddy, too cloudy here. And then, because I had the radiator, but the radiator was pushing very hard and was very noisy. So I like the Omega transformer model 458A from Kush Audio. And this thing just brings everything in the mix somehow up front further. I don't know how it's doing it, but I really love this plugin. Let's have a listen here. Good energy here. That's what I'm doing here with the Omega transformer, and then cutting a little bit more by 50 Hertz. Just cutting minus 1.3 dB to clean it up a little bit more, bring it more into the mix. Then we have something called Soul FX. That's the bridge here. Let's listen to the bridge. Singing one melody, them and you and me, time after time. Together we could see the perfect energy of space and time. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah. So what I'm doing here and why I'm doing it, is, again, it was the first take or second take. It was a little bit out of tune, and I would push more auto-tune, it would sound unnatural. So I thought, what else can I do? And I love to put effects on this, especially when it fits here. It's like underlining his voice and his message, going a little bit into space and time. So what I'm doing is I'm adding the tuner, de-esser, EQ, just cutting a little bit more out of the low end. And this one I'm not using, but the CLA Epic, it's a really cool plugin. Here you have a delay section, here you have a reverb section, and you can throw the delay into the reverb section and have all kinds of buttons to make it the way you want. And here is the mix button, and this is the one button I use the most here. So we're using one delay only and two reverbs, pre-delay, reverb time, like a 2-second reverb, a 1-second reverb, like a more room reverb, and the plate. And I'm automating the mix button. That's the whole magic. I'm going to -10. Let's see if it works. It takes a lot of CPU, this plugin, but let's see if it works here. It makes the song a little bit more interesting, adds a little bit more to it, and I like those creative effects. There are sometimes days where those effects are too much, over-exaggerated, but here it fits really, really good. Then I routed to the parallel compression, to the first one, and here I use the VLA3A from Black Rooster Audio. Absolutely love their plugins, and it's just a one knob compressor. How much we're compressing? Choking it to the maximum. And why I'm doing it, the voice was already loud. I do loud mixes, even for this nice ballad, chilled out track. You can see I use a lot of parallel compression to bring more texture there and bring it more forward and make it fatter. And the voice was going under in between all this parallel compression from all the other elements. So I used the first stage, and then thing that I discovered, I just got the Omnipressor for free on Black Friday from Eventide, and I started to read the manual. I was producing the band Sun Followers and the new track Droga. It's a super cool collaboration between Moroccan and Polish rap artists, funk, rock, world music, really, really good. And I just put parallel compression on everything. Everything was so fat, and the rap vocals just drowned. I couldn't bring them further, so I started to work with 2 parallel compression stages and use the Omnipressor just to see what happens. And this thing is incredible. I don't know how it's doing it, but it's really, really incredible, bringing the vocal up front in your face, but it also exaggerates the breaths. Yeah, so it's like a downward and upward compressor. It's like an expander and a compressor, and when it comes to breath, you hear like a very loud breath that brings you a little bit out of the tune, from the dream world into like, hey, what's going on there? This is why I cut it, the breaths here. And let's hear with it. Thought? So it's really, really heavy. I don't even know if you can hear it. Let's make it louder. So you don't have to go and buy this plugin now to make the same effect. Find some compressor that is working in a similar way, like very aggressive, really pumpy, really, really exciting somehow. So this is how I bring the voice there. And again, to see what the voice is doing, how it's working, how it's sitting in the mix, I'm listening.
Bring the sunshine and let it shine. Smile, no matter who you are or where you are, you'll be fine. In the celebration, kulu kulu yananago, kulu kulu yananago, kulu kaya.
I love it. That's the vocals. Let's see now with effects what I'm routing there, what I'm using here. So we routed to the parallel compression, Vox omnichannel, Vox slapback, minus 13 dB, Vox stereo full, and the small reverb we used here. And you see I use a lot of automation. Okay, I show you the next trick here. In the transitions between verse and chorus, I just boost the long reverb.
You'll be fine. In the celebration, kulu kulu yananago.
In the celebration, I wanted to emphasize it, make it bigger, wider, fatter, and for this I use a long reverb to do it. And then put it down here, and then the reverb comes back in the bridge.
Singing one melody.
The first word is emphasized, plus 1.5 dB for more drama, like good drama, something that is exciting. And what I had to do here is automating the EQ, because it went too sharp with the S's and with the voice. EQ automation here from +7.
Singing one melody, them and you and me, time after time.
And it gives this intimate feel. I really love it. It's not more like that up front, it's bringing him into another place. Like this is one of the tricks you can do with EQ automation. With EQ automation, you can bring more excitement. Then we have automation on the stereo delay on the last chorus. To make it bigger. You know, the last chorus, the last part here, it goes from the chorus and then the outro.
كل كيان.
You get the idea. So the next one is backing vocals, and I doubled the backing vocals. These are 2 takes together. I'm a big fan of backing vocals, I love it. So let's see what they are doing here without EQ.
كل كل ينالك كل كل ينالك كل كيان كل كيان كل كل ينالك كل كل ينالك كل كيان.
You can hear a lot of reverb there again. Before we start mixing it, let's have a look how we recorded the backing vocals. So we had the backing vocals now with the guys, and I was using the MTP 250DM. I think it's the cheapest from the line, and I heard it, it sounds incredible. Let's see what we did here. We have the first backing vocals here with Jamal and Naji, and the room mics. Again, hard pan, hard left, hard right. Those are by 89%, and these are by 90% left, right, not 100%, just to fill out the space a little bit, and don't be in the way of the room mics. They are doubled, and when I double the backing vocals, especially in situations like this, it's important, again, with your editing skills, to see that the backing vocals are tight. This is one thing that I observed all the time when a band just met on the same day regarding the backing vocals. They don't put that much thought into it. So they can vary in timbre and how long the words are sing and where is the focus on the words. So I do it later in the mix. I edit it later. For me it's no problem, especially in these days. We didn't have that much time. It was a very long day already, and anyway we left the place at midnight, so this is something that I am able to fix in the mix. Don't suggest it. Try to get the best out of the performance on the spot to make it as tight as possible to the backing vocals and put a lot of thought into it. Backing vocals are super important. So what I'm using here is again the tuner, the SSL console.
كل كل ينالك كل كيان كل كيان كل كل ينالك كل كل ينالك كل كيان.
Just to bring it a little bit more further, I love to compress the backing vocals, so there is I imagine them as a block to put them together, not as separate voices, but like a group of voices. And I achieved this with compression. I love compression on this to have it like very consistent, almost like the bass. So I'm boosting 2.4 dB on 8K, 2.8 dB on 4.7K in a very narrow Q. I'm cutting a little bit of 1K to give space for the main vocals for Naji. I'm cutting low end, 88 Hz, and some top end because they should support the voice but not be in the way of the voice from Naji. Again, pre-dynamic section. Maximum minus 6 dB of compression. And then I go into RVox. Compressing up to minus 5 dB, what brings it more together, more consistent. And later I'm routing it to the first reverb, minus 7.3 dB, to the stereo delay, minus 22 dB, just to put them in the same space, like all the other elements. What I love on backing vocals is a long reverb as the main reverb. This puts them more in the back. And then again, vocal harmonizer, left and right. Together in the mix. And thanks to the reverb, it sounds bigger and wider, like there are more people. And this are actually just 2 people, just with the room mics also, and that's it. Just got to see, usually I use parallel compression on this as well, but not here. So it's a little bit smoother than usual. Now we go to the guitar, and the guitar got a couple of edits, and here I want to give you some music production tips. Let's say here, let's listen to the guitar at first.
If you smile, if you could smile, no matter who you are.
So maybe it's not the precious sound in solo, but as we talked before, we don't work in solo. I see how it works in the mix. It saves me a lot of time. And because the mix is now getting wider and wider, now I'm adding the next elements here, and I can see where does the guitar fit. Do I need all this low end? The low end here was really clashing with the bass. The bass is filling it out. And I'm just listening to the track and EQ.
If you smile, if you could smile, no matter who you are or where you are, you will be fine in the cellar.
Without EQ, there is this tasty low end that I love on the instruments, but the guitar is going down in the mix here. So what I'm doing, when we started to record the guitar, the birds started to sing. So we have you will hear some birds in the multi-tracks there. What is fine because it fits to the vibe here. Let's jump to the video how we recorded the guitars, which mics we used, and which technique we used here. We're here with Naji Soul, incredible musician, wonderful voice, and super cool guitar player. And
Wait. She was laughing.
she's laughing when I talk, you know. Because when I talk, it's like
Tell us your name, mystery man.
Before I talk too much, who are you, man?
Hello everybody, I'm Naji Soul, an artist from Morocco, Agadir. And we are here today recording with my dear friends musicians, and especially with Mr. Ady Head Road Music. Yeah. We are making the magic here, come on.
We're making the magic here, we're capturing this magic moment here, and thank you so much to organize this in this incredible place. So we recorded now the guitars, and for the guitars I used two ACT40s to have a stereo image, and then I put the Flex 441 in Omni just in the middle of it, and we got also the DI out. And that's the whole magic.
That's the killer right here.
That's the killer here. We listen now and there is enough lower and very tasty sound. I think there is not much to do.
Yeah. Something is cooking, right?
Something is cooking, man. Something is cooking. I can't wait to dig into this track. The most important, as always, is the amazing musician.
Exactly.
So,
and the amazing engineer, for sure.
in the back, maybe, but man, when the stuff in the sauce is there, I'm happy, and I think it sounds beautiful the way you played it. There is the soul.
Thank you.
And,
That's beautiful.
That's it. Let's check it out. We got the 441 Flex that was in front of the guitar, and the stereo pair again, hard left, hard right. The DI we are not using, so I can delete it. And let's have a listen here. Can you hear the birds in the background? And there are these reflections from the tiles, so you have a very high gainish sound there. That was, when I pushed the guitar in the mix, it was a little bit disturbing here. This is how good the mics are, because they are just getting everything, every single sound. So they're perfect for the studio, when you have a very nice isolated room, and I show you how to make them work also in your bedroom. At first I cut some low end, and I had the low end, too much low end here by 134 Hertz. No, by 462 Hertz. I cut minus 3.3 dB. And everything below 134. The room mics, again, I don't have to do anything here because they just sound perfect. Then I have something it's called Z-Noise. It's a noise reduction plugin. It works super simple. I find a place where it's getting too loud for me. just this, and I can run it. It will analyze this frequency range, and then I can just filter it out to a level that I like to filter it out, because it can be sometimes too aggressive and cut all the good frequencies. So use your ears, don't mess up your audio, just clean it up a little bit. It don't have to be perfect, you know, it don't have to be like from Blackbird Studios, freshly recorded, but just that the birds are not getting over exaggerated here in the mix. The next thing what I'm using here is the console, the SSL channel strip again from Brainworks, cutting some low end, cutting some top end, making space for the vocals, bringing some top end back on 8K, just a little bit shinier to give something more to the guitar. Boosting 4 dB on 5.2K in a wide range, so I have a little bit more of the frequencies that I like here. Like this, it's already a perfect sound, but not for the mix. Then I'm boosting 3 dB on 1.6 kHz in a wide range, and pre-dynamic section, but not really compressing anything here. The next step is the VLA2A. And I just love sonically what it's doing. There are two compressors, two LA2A emulations I use all the time. It's the one from Black Rooster Audio that I use on acoustic guitars because it gives some beautiful low end there. And the other one is from Waves, the CLA2A, and it brings some super cool mid-range to the vocals and brings the vocals further. So yeah, I love this one. Just, you see I'm just, I'm pointing like this. You see I'm just compressing -1 dB, but it changed the sound so heavily. And then later when I listen to it in the mix,
You will be fine. In a celebration, Kolo Nga Yan, go, Kolo Nga Yan, and let it shine.
I had to make this cut here because it was clashing with the bass. And I cut it around 300 Hz here. And now it's sitting perfectly with the bass and they're having a good time together. I use parallel compression again. I think the VLA3A.
Let it shine. If you smile, if you could smile, no matter who you are. Kolo Nga Yan, go, Kolo Nga Yan, Kolo Nga Yan, Kolo Nga Yan. Bring the sunshine and let it shine.
Just sounds beautifully there. So let's see what I'm using. Parallel compression beat all. Then we got the first reverb a little bit, -11, -12 dB. Instrument delay and the long reverb. Just have to... The long reverb just comes in the bridge.
Them and you and me, time after time.
Just beautiful. Such a smooth guitar sound here. And you see I did some edits here, and this is very important. This is something I want to share with you. We had this guitar slides, like a you know, when you're changing the chords. And this happened just 2 weeks ago. We were listening to Spotify, to some artists, like the Discover Weekly, what they have for breakfast. And there was a really cool track, with a guy putting some electronic music there and acoustic guitars and singing, beautiful voice. But he left the scratches there, and my girlfriend just turned off the song and said, I can't hear it. And I was just eating, I'm like, wow. It just impacted me and gave me to think the importance on the role of the engineer. How these small things can affect the listener. Because usually we have a yearly playlist and the song was already there to come to this yearly playlist that we have. But the guitar stretches there were too much and we just turned it off and never listened to it again. And this gave me to think 2 weeks later when I mixed the Naji Soul song. And I just cut out all the scratches because it was too much. So what can you do when you have something like this in your music production? You can take the guitar, or you can ask the guitar player to change the chords in a different way. Instead of sliding to them, you can just lift all the fingers and go to the next. I mean, okay, it's a different feel. I'm here. Guitar players will scream. Leave a comment there. I play guitar since 20 years, and I get it. It can be the feel of the slide and so on. But it can, if there is too much, there are two ways you can do in the mix. To preserve the feel. When they say this is the feel, okay, nothing you can do. You can just ask them what they think about it, play them the audio, say, man, the scratches are very heavy. Maybe you like to just change the chords in a different way. If they say it's the feel, it's artistic freedom, okay, that's super cool, respect that. What you can do in the mix is cut every slide and put it manually down. This is what I prefer. And what other people use is de-esser that take care of the scratch sound. What can happen is that the guitar sound gets a little bit impacted on this, or that the guitar sound don't get catched 100% this scratch sound. So you find the best way. For me, the best way here was to cut it. Just cut it out, especially here at the beginning. Sounds super clean, sounds perfect, and nobody's complaining, and I like it. So think twice. There is a long way between recording the song, producing the song, and what the people at the end hear and how they react to it. Assignment number 6, I added the exercise folder there for you. And there are the guitars without any edits. So import those guitars into a new session or into the existing session with the multi-tracks that we provided, and try 2 different ways to get these guitar stretches out of the mix. First one, by editing it out, by cutting it, trimming it, and make the clean edits with fade outs. And the second would be use a de-esser and try to tame only this frequency, to don't make it that harsh and that present in the mix. Have fun. Next we got the saxophone, and I had to use autotune here. And why? Because Youssef, incredible saxophone player, but he had the least amount of time. He had to leave at 7, and we recorded his part at 6:50 when we were ready. So we just made a quick guitar demo line. He was hearing it, and he should play to the vocals to really get in tune. But there were no vocals he could orientate on. So he was just playing in the key, and I think he's just incredible how he hit it, but it didn't fit 100% with the vocals later. So we had to use a little bit of autotune. Let's see how we recorded the saxophone part in the next video. So for the saxophone we used the Lewitt 441 flex in the omnidirectional pattern. And the idea was because I watched now a lot of videos about L. Schmidt, and he used only condenser mics. Usually I would take the MTP 440. Maybe you saw it in the video, I just put it a little bit in the background as a safety. And yeah, usually I went with dynamic mics for saxophones, but now I saw the L. Schmidt videos and I thought, let's go with the condenser and Omni. And additionally to it, I use also one room mic with the ACT 040s, always to bring a little bit depth in the mix, to have some options there. And that's it, that's the whole magic. The biggest magic is always a very good musician, awesome saxophone player, who's leaving right now.
Bislama! Bislama!
The saxophone part, and let's see what we are doing here. Let's listen to the solo. Picobello, it's beautiful. If you don't have a tear in your eyes, then I don't know. We have a little bit of autotune here. At the end, what mics we are using. I used the 441 flags, just in Omni in front of the saxophone, as in the video, and then just blend the room mics in a little bit, minus 14 dB. Without the room mics. And you feel again, with the room mics, it's just gluing it together to the track, to all the other elements. And this is where it adds up, where the effort of more tracks in your mix will add up and yeah, make a nice result. So I'm using, let's listen without any effects. For me, this is the perfect saxophone sound in the recording stage already. There is not much I have to do. Later, when I was just listening, when the mix was ready, I just added small things here. I cut some top end, I cut some low end by 64 Hz, here by 13K, I cut everything above. I boosted a little bit of 3K, boosted 2.9 dB on 1K and 4 dB on 200. I love this low end in the saxophone. I love to emphasize it. Then some minor changes where it gets too muddy. Minus 1.6 dB on 80 Hz, so it's not clashing with the bass, and minus 1.4 dB on 297 Hz or 300, just to make more space. At the end again, I use the VLA2A because I like the effect on the guitar, and it's not even compressing, it's just touching it. Maximum -1, -2 dB, and when it's get heavier, -3, like the spikes, just to tame the spikes, keep the feeling, tame the spikes, bring it back in the mix. And we are sending it to the first reverb and the reverb long, and the reverb long is again automated in this part. Then when he plays together in the chorus, it's a little bit down. Because the chorus is already sweet enough. Now let's go to the keyboard. The keyboard, we recorded it in stereo. Perfect sound with synthesizer. There is not much to do. What I'm doing here is adding more low end, way more low end, and boosting 3K in a wide bandwidth and attenuate at the same time. So we got a lot of low end here now to make it a little bit warmer.
Kolo Nga Yan. سلات أوان
Without. You see, it's not that dominant in the mix, but without you feel really something is missing. And what I love with keyboard, with pianos, with instruments like that, I use a tremolo and bring some movement into it. So it will space it again different in the mix and makes it more exciting. One important thing that I learned during the years, psychoacoustics. Especially here, it starts to get crowded now. We put another instrument, it's the violin. So what you can do is automation on specific points to make the instrument loud and present, and then sneak it back a few dB. So people will still perceive that the instrument is there, they will be happy, the musician will be happy that you can hear the instrument, and you make space for other. Every instrument is important, but like more focused instruments, like the vocals, like the percussion, like the bass. So this is a small trick that you can use. For example, exaggerate the first chord here. It's up. And here in the automation phase, we just push the keyboards a little bit more because more elements come in. And that's it. That's all the magic here. And we are sending it to the instrument delay as well to put them all in the same space. Now we go to the rebab. The rebab is the Moroccan violin played by Salah Fafa. Just love the sound, and this surprised me that the microphones were perfect, just perfect for the traditional instruments in Morocco. I just put the flex in front of it, and the flex was the real winner in this record session. I just, as the name said, it's so flexible, I could put it on anything and it just sounded good. And this is just a dream mic. So I used again the room mics, the L40s, and at the end the flex. I tried also the MTP 440 and the Reverb DI, but it was too much. And let's see how we record the instrument like this. Perfect. So here was a little bit too much top end from the reflections of the tiles. So I just used a low pass filter and cut all the top end up to 3.7 kilohertz. Just duplicated it here to have the same. And minimum of processing. Let's listen without. With whatever mics I had, when I have the reverb, you get a lot of these high frequencies. Let's listen to the dynamic mic. There was too much room in it. So usually the best mic for instruments like this are dynamic microphones. If you have something like a gambri or whatever, a gambri is the Moroccan bass guitar. But here the flex just sounded perfect for me, and I knew what to do in the mix to fit it in. And what I do is I cut all the top end, even if it doesn't sound like this in the record. the reverb have a lot of low end. If you want to hear a reverb, I created a world music playlist on Spotify for reference, with a lot of reference tracks for mixing engineers who start to mix world music. So you can check it out. And see what I'm doing. I'm cutting low end 24 kilohertz, cutting everything above 9.1 kilohertz, cutting everything above 8 kilohertz, the shelf minus 5.5 dB. And then we go plus 2 dB on 3 kilohertz to give more presence. So this is the tricky part, to bring the low end there and the presence as well. So you have to think a little bit how the frequencies impact each other, how they impact each other. When I cut more top end, it will sound more bassy, but at the same time, it will sound more in the back. So how can I bring it more further, more present? And I'm doing it in the, here I found the 3K for me, fits really good. Plus 2 dB for a little bit more presence, plus 290 Hertz, 3.2 dB, and in a wide Q. So I'm boosting more of the low end, and then in a shelf, boosting everything up to 200 Hertz. Pre-dynamic, and let's see if I'm compressing. So I'm just touching maximum minus 6 dB when he's using in this moment. And then I like the guitar. I like this compressor on the guitar and how much low end it added there. So I used it also for the reverb. And don't get fooled. I just boost the gain a lot here. A lot of gain is added, so you will hear the frequencies differently. Our ears respond to frequencies in different ways, to different volumes. So this is also something I did here, but it's also the character of the plugin. And then a touch of autotune again. Now it really fits into the mix. And one of the secrets here is automation. And again, I boost the volume here. You can hear that the reverb is present, it's the main element. And when the vocals kick in, my German accent, I go minus 2 dB down and pan it a little bit away from Naji's voice and put the reverb, the long reverb, also down to have a more direct sound. Because there are so many elements that take the attention. We want the main focus on the vocals again, but the reverb is also very, very melodic and also in this frequency range, a little bit clashing with the vocals. So I just pan it on the side and now it's like very nice balanced. And they are working very good hand in hand together and swat the track. In the chorus I put it still a little bit louder and then I put it down minus 1.75 dB, pan it even 21% to the right and boost a little bit the reverb long. Here I wanted that you hear a little bit more of the reverb tail to the end, and then when the chorus comes again, I'm pan it even further, 30% to the right, take the reverb out and boost the volume a little bit. I boost the volume in every element a little bit, so the chorus feels bigger, wider and larger. Ah yeah, and then the last chorus, when the saxophone comes in, there will be a clash of like, what get the focus? And I wanted them to interact, so what I'm doing is, I take the reverb out, in the saxophone and in the reverb, I pan the saxophone 40% to the left, but I am not doing it like drastically. I make it that it sounds not too obvious, you know, like a straight line. So I wait until the note is going out, and when the note is going out and the volume is going down, I use the fader and put it more to the left. And now there is a wider chorus thanks to the reverb that is 55% to the right, and the saxophone 39% to the right, and full focus on the vocals. Plus wider mix, bigger mix with the elements in the right place. Assignment number 7, go to Spotify or YouTube and check out the reference tracks that I put you here, so you can listen how the reverb, the Moroccan violin, is mixed in Moroccan songs. And the reverb, we send it to the instrument delay and to the reverb long here. And this is all the magic. Thank you so much for tuning in. What we are doing now is checking the master bus, and sometimes I do mastering in a separate file. Here the mix is so loud that I just kept it as it is. It sounds perfect for me already. The first thing that I do is the linear EQ, the low band EQ, and I'm cutting everything below 32 Hertz because it was too muddy there in this section, and it just cleans up the mix a little bit more. Let's have a listen here. Maybe not a drastic change, but it will translate also better on other mediums when it's played in bigger clubs or whatever. Always good to cut this low end because it frees the other frequencies it will impact the other frequencies in the low end section, like the djembe, the bass, and so on. Then we got the SSL compressor compressing maximum of -2 dB. Then I go into the Abbey Road TG mastering chain. This is a very helpful tool that I use all the time, absolutely love it. I'm boosting 16K plus 1.2 dB in a high shelf, cutting a little bit out of 360 Hertz, -1 dB. Always take care of this section. If you feel something is missing in the mix, just try any kind of equalizer and see what happens if you cut it out later in the master bus. Then I'm cutting out a little bit on 91 Hertz. The bass was a little bit too much, and just cutting 0.7 dB. Many people say you start hearing a change when you change -0.7 dBs, when you make cuts around this size. Like nobody would hear when I make a cut by 0.5 dB, for example. If it's true, I don't know. I just made the minimum cut I could do here. Then I love the Millenia NSEQ, and I'm just giving a little bit of 21K you will say, if I can hear it. What it's doing, it gives a little bit more brightness on the top end overall. I love it also for the low end, but I felt the low end here was already tight enough, so I didn't touch anything here. And I boosted a little bit of 1.3K to give more presence in the mid-range for Naji's voice. Let's have a listen without those two equalizer. Let's listen with both. Very clean low end now, crispy tops, crispy high end, sounds way better to me. The next thing is the vintage limiter. It's just my favorite limiter because of the characteristics it's adding. Listen with. And don't get fooled by the volume change. Just perfect. I use the tube setting, and I don't know, I'm not really cutting anything here. After this, I love 2 stages of limiting, and the maximizer, I don't know why, call me crazy, but it has its own sound. Somehow this setting, the IRC4 modern, it brings the mix further. I don't know what it's doing there, but I stopped denying it and just use it. Without. Now I would say afterwards that I would not use it because it's pushing it too heavy. It starts to sound a little bit unnatural to me. But let's keep it in. Let's see the last steps. That's the PSP master comp. It's making it a little bit smoother. I don't think it's touching anything here, but it's also part of my new mastering chain. So I use the PSP Xenon at the end. Let's take off this limiter. And this is my last limiter, the last ceiling in this track, because I felt I'm just starting to destroy the mix and destroy the master and not adding anything there except volume. And I think it sounds pretty balanced. You got all the frequencies there. I think it sounds loud enough. Sometimes I just don't want to push it to the maximum, especially in loving tracks like this. Let's have a listen. What's the impact? So I tried it with all the stuff and without all the stuff. There are tiny differences, tiny differences. Will it make it or break it? I'm not sure. I would say no from my side. The cool thing is we squashed maybe a little bit more loudness out there. We have it a little bit more balanced, and Naji was happy with it. No revisions. Happy about this. And here's the last assignment number 8. Check out what mastering engineers are actually doing. Where's the difference between the mixing engineer and the mastering engineer? With difference, I mean, does the mastering engineer do the same EQ moves like the mixing engineer? Is it the same amount of compression that they are using? What they are looking for? What is their vision at the end? Try to understand the other side and your mixes will be way better as a result. Yeah, thank you for tuning in into this mixing tutorial. I hope you learned a lot here. If you have any questions, again, leave a comment there. You're not alone. We just learn. Sharing is caring. We learn from each other by sharing our favorite techniques, by questioning our favorite techniques. And this is something where I learn as well. I learn while teaching. Don't forget to check out also the Hit the Road Music Studio YouTube channel. We got 70 music videos with artists out there that we created during these times, with people from Morocco, from the desert, from the ocean, from the mountains, rock and roll bands from Berlin, folk bands and classical bands from Poland, singer-songwriter from France, and all kinds of music is there. And we extend our journey thanks to your help. Check out the ProMix Academy courses. Check out Lewitt mics. They are absolutely worth it. It's not. I wasn't asked to do this. I wasn't asked to say this. I'm just at first really happy for the support, really grateful for the support. I was just blown away by the change that occurred in my recordings and mixes in the quality by just changing my mic locker, by just upgrading those microphones. So big shout out to Louis. Lovely greetings, sunny greetings from Morocco by the ocean. I'm just watching directly at the ocean here. It's literally 10-20 meters there. I will jump into the cold water now and have fun with the interview with Naji Soul. Thanks for tuning in and take it easy. I'm curious what you are doing with those mixes.
The sunshine and let it shine. If you
Yo, what's up? Ali here from Whitworth Music Studio together with Naji Soul.
Bonjour à toutes et à tous, je m'appelle Naji Soul. Je suis auteur, compositeur et interprète. Après plusieurs années passées à écrire et à jouer de la musique, je peux dire que je suis enfin prêt à présenter mon album au plus large public possible. Marocain de naissance, j'ai très vite été curieux des cultures étrangères, notamment celles des États-Unis, de l'Europe, dont je me suis nourri au point de les marier tout naturellement à l'univers de mes origines berbères. J'ai développé une profonde connaissance, une certaine admiration pour des types de musique variés, avec toutefois une certaine préférence pour le jazz, la bossa nova et les musiques africaines, et j'ai essayé de métisser le tout aux couleurs de l'Afrique du Nord. Les textes de cet album se caractérisent par leur universalité, principalement en amazigh et en darija, mais aussi en français et en anglais, pour but de promouvoir la paix, la tolérance et l'égalité. De Johnny Cash, Velvet Underground, The Smiths, The Doors, Queen, à Herbie Hancock, Miles Davis, tout en passant par Idir ou Saïd Fikri, j'ai dévoré et dévore encore tout ce que j'ai pu dans le but de transmettre d'une façon à peine sophistiquée mon amour de la vie en musique, pourvu que ça soit au-dessus des frontières. Avec cet album Whispers from Morocco ou Murmures du Maroc, j'espère vous atteindre sans crier, à la façon d'une confidence qu'on en fait à un ami, que l'on a envie de voir sourire et danser. Je finirai cette présentation en me rappelant de cette phrase de Nietzsche: « Sans la musique, la vie serait une erreur, une besogne éreintante, un exil. » Merci, prenez soin de vous.
Enjoying this beautiful sun here.
Yeah,
Oh my God,
man.
we're blessed. We're blessed. Oh my God.
How are you doing, man?
I'm good.
good.
I'm fine. Being with such a beautiful people like you, so we were hanging out. We were hanging out with these people, with these friends here. Yeah, we did some music. We recorded, and yeah, we were excited about the results to see what will happen later.
Yeah, I'm also excited, man. We had a great record session yesterday. Recorded your song. Man, what's the name of the song?
So we recorded a song called Kolo Nga Yan. It means we are all the same, or we are all one, if you want. And it's a song in Amazigh and English. So there's a part in it in English, but mostly in Amazigh.
Mm-hmm.
And it talks about humanity, tolerance, equality, you know. Yeah, it has a message to give, you know.
That's the most important.
That's the least thing I can do as a singer, to share this message with people and to express my feelings and my wishes for humanity through my songs.
Oh, that's so beautiful, man.
Oh my God.
That's beautiful. Oh my God. Ifulki.
Yeah, thank you.
Ifulki. And tell us something about you. Let's introduce yourself. Who are you? What are you doing? Since when are you a musician?
So my name is Naji Soul. I came from Agadir, Morocco. I'm a guitarist singer. I started playing music in exactly 2005 because I built a band called, at the time, Upstream. We were playing punk rock. Then we switched to playing grunge and metal. Then we switched again to playing old school. It explains my tastes of music because I never had a specific type of music that I liked before. So we were always switching between types. And in 2010, I started a solo career. Like I started to. There were some problems with the bands, band stuff. So it was very hard. We were not responsible, if you want. We were just hanging out and playing concerts, recording sometimes not. So I stopped up and I decided to take another way. But on the other hand, I was performing since 2008 in hotels and clubs, which allowed me to meet a lot of musicians, play a lot of music styles, meet a lot of people from all over the world since I live in touristic city. So yeah, that's when I started a solo career, and I started writing my own songs. Yeah, until now. And the album will be soon released in June, exactly in June. Whispers from Morocco. This album gathered all the songs that I wrote this last 5 years. Yeah. So,
wow!
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you, man. So excited to share it with you, by the way.
So let's talk about the album. How many tracks are on the album? And
yeah, Whispers from Morocco. It contains like 9 tracks. One of them. Okay, let's start by Kolo Nga Yan. As I told you before, Kolo Nga Yan. There's Kolo Nga Yan, of course. It's a Berber song with an English part in it, and it contains a rebab. It's an instrument, Berber instrument. A guitar, key, piano. Drums and bass. It's a jazzy song. It's a kind of jazzy song, pop. You can call it also Afro. Yeah, so there's another song also called Yanaya Douar. Yanaya Douar, it's more tribal music. It's more desert music. I wrote the song about women because I was thinking in my head about a woman, imagining a woman. She was living in a village and her family wants her to stay there and work. And take the camels or whatever, the lambs or the goats, and work. But she said no to the traditions, and she stood against the will of their parents, of her parents, And she went to the city to study. Then when she became successful and she had money, they respected her because she became powerful. So I wrote this song to tell women that they can do it. They can do it, and women are powerful. So I dedicated this song to Moroccan women. It's called Yanaya Douar, which means either me or my tribe.
wow.
So yeah. And it's a song where there's just guitars and bass and drums, no electronic, no like keyboards. It's a very tribal song.
شافوها هزك تهب في يديها خافوا لا توقف على رجلي.
Tribal.
Amazing, man.
Yeah. And the next song is a song called Tegant. Tegant in Berber means, in Amazigh it means forest. Tegant. I wrote this song because I'm a hiking fan. I hike sometimes, and whenever I go to hiking, I see that nature is suffering. So I wrote this song to talk about our forest, Tegant. And I'm also talking in this song about animals that are disappearing. If she can feel me or hear me, this song is for you.
Oh, Mother Nature can hear you, definitely.
Yeah, of course, the trees can't speak between them, can talk, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
There is a book we are reading, The Hidden Life of Trees. It's really good, man.
Really, yeah.
From Peter Wollheim. It's a German guy.
Yeah, it's a German guy. Okay.
Yeah, it's a German guy here living in the forest. Very interesting book, how the trees are communicating, building systems with each other.
True.
زريغ تفوق ترتوشكا زريغ يرسل يلا يزون كاتون تسلا زريغ أفغان سل.
Hey, wonderful. And you have some nice hiking places here in Agadir, like close to Agadir, right?
Agadir, there's a secret. It's one of the only cities in Morocco where you can hike in the afternoon and go swim in the ocean at the end of the afternoon. I go to hike because I live in Talbarst, so it's like 10 minutes walking. I have like 15, okay, let's say 15 minutes walking. Then I'm in the mountains. I can hike here, just the mountains around Agadir. Then I walk, continue my hiking trip, and here I am in the ocean. I go down from the big hill of Agadir. Then you can swim in the ocean. Then you can release your sweat and your energy in the ocean, and I love that. I do that sometimes. Yeah.
What else you need?
Yeah.
What else you need for life?
What
That's
else?
all you
What
need.
else?
What else?
Agadir. What else?
Agadir, what else? Yeah, I love it. Tell us about the next song.
Next song is a song called Aisha Kandisha.
Aisha Kandisha.
So Aisha Kandisha is a woman. She was living in Morocco in the where in the era where Portuguese army was occupying some cities in Morocco. So the story is telling that she was living in a tribe, and she went to chop some wood in the forest. While doing that, the Portuguese soldiers they came and they killed all her family, all her friends. She came back to the village, and she found everyone killed. Like they are all gone. She lost it, and she started taking revenge from the soldiers, man, seducing them at night, then seducing them and dragging them into the forest and then killing them, But in Moroccan mythology, if you want, they thought that she's a witch, because she's living in the forest, so she's a witch. But she wasn't a witch. I'm sure she was a beautiful woman, by the way, funky and cool, So that's why I wrote this song, because in Moroccan society right now they think about this woman like a monster, like something scary. I don't think so. That's why I wrote this song, to give her value as a powerful, brave woman.
Sommes-nous des morts? Est-ce qu'on existe? C'est la question. في كل مكان، في كل زمان، لابسة خلخال ودايرة وشام يا لالا، وشام يا لالا.
So yeah, I dedicated this song for her. And by the way, we just did a music video for this song, and we will release the album at the same time with the music video of Aisha Kandisha.
Amazing.
Yeah, so-
when will it be? 2nd June, 3rd June?
3rd June, yeah.
3rd
3rd of June, 2021.
Cool. And where can people watch the video?
It will be in YouTube, of course, shared on Facebook. And of course, the album will be in all the platforms, Spotify, Deezer, and yeah. And I will also release the album in vinyl and cassette.
Oh, man.
Maybe this is just for me, because I'm a vintage guy, I'm a retro guy, I love that. Yeah.
Man, vinyl is the big hit again. People love vinyl
Yeah,
and go back to touch this physical medium.
I'm a vinyl collector. I have a lot of bands in my place, vinyl records, and I'm doing this vinyl thing because I love it, Yeah. So.
What are your top 3 vinyls?
Wow,
Your top 3 favorites?
Oh my
hard
God. I wish
question,
it was top 10. Okay, top 3.
Top 3.
Top 3 vinyls. I will start by the third. The first album of The Doors,
Ooh.
1967.
Nice.
It was the best album. Where there's the end, Break and Throw, People Are Strangers. Third album is Velvet Underground with Nico. Banana album.
Banana album.
Exactly. First album will be The Queen Is Dead by The Smiths,
Man.
1986.
Man.
Maybe this is my best 3 albums
Nice.
so far. Yeah.
Nice choice. And let's move on to the next track. What's on the
Okay, next track. There is a track called "Kulna Mzorin," which means we are all fake. Talking about humans here, including myself. not fake in a bad way, but we are sometimes forced to live in another style that we don't like. We are forced to live in. We are forced to follow some rules that we don't want. We don't want to follow. So this track, I talk about my hiking trips, when I walk alone in the mountains. I talk about this spaceless time and timeless, moment in the mountains. And I'm like describing where we live right now, this dark world we're living right now. It's sad times. Everything is fake. I have the feeling. I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong, but I think everything is fake. We still have music and sun, hopefully, but the style of life is becoming more fake. So I was talking about that, and it's also tribal. It's like Sahara rock. I don't know.
Sahara
Yeah,
rock.
I will,
هذا حالي جيت نكون مع اللي فاتوا جبل الشامخة هو قدامي في كل مكان نسيت الماضي جرحت الموت قتلت الايام فات الفوت جو الغيام جرحت الموت قتلت الايام فات الفوت جو الغيام.
So next song is called Samir. Samir is a song about a surfer guy that I imagined. This song, by the way, was written in 2007. It was never released, and I did it right now in like a rearrangement, and it will be with the album. It's about surf. This song is for fun and surf.
Oh, perfect.
Because before I was a surfer, I stopped.
Why did you stop?
But big mistake, you know. But it's never too late to come back. So yeah, this song Samir is a song about a surfer who was fighting with his parents to get money to go to surf and get trapped later, you know. Typical like more punk rock style, you know, punk rock ideas, you know. Yeah.
قاع ما يحس بيه بيس درانك بانك تركل بالجيتار الروتين مع وادو بيرمانونس في الدار تمشي تسورفي تمشي تبوقي انولي كوز الناس تهرس ليا تمشي تسورفي تمشي تبوقي انولي كوز الناس تهرس ليا.
And yeah, the next song would be Litima.
Litima.
The orphan. It was called Litima, but the actual track name is called علاش ولدتوها, which means why did you give her birth? Yeah, you know why? Because it talks about an orphan girl that her parents couldn't afford to take care of her. Maybe they had her by mistake. I was talking about a woman, orphan girl. She was living in the street. Her parents threw her away. She was living in the street between lions and predators, you know. Yeah, and I'm putting the spotlight here to the Moroccan orphaned children. You know, children in the streets, children who can't have a place to stay, a shelter. Yeah, so I dedicated this song to these people to give a wake-up call to some, you know, responsibles here to help them maybe, hopefully.
Amazing, man.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
so your music is not just pure entertainment. There is also a message behind in this
I
album.
had a lot of years in entertainment, you know. I'm a musician. I was singing in hotels. I was doing musical comedies for years, singing in clubs and bars for years, every day. Like mostly, I was like, for example, between 2008, 2013, I was singing in a hotel in front of 300 people every day.
Wow.
And you have to entertain them.
Yeah.
But after a while, it became boring and tired from it. You want to move to something else. That's why I left the hotel, by the way.
Okay.
And because I missed the real life.
ياك هيك بتكون ياك هي نتوما ياك هي ناركم وجنتها نتوما ياك هي الغلطة ونتوما اللومة البارح ولدتوها لحتوها اليوم.
There's a song called Interlude. It's a song where I just improvise with my voice. And behind there's Yunus Akharaz, which is a beautiful keyboard player. Like,
Oh yeah, I love
very
Yunus.
talented, yeah.
Yeah, Yunus is amazing.
Very talented. So he was, you know, he's putting some chords behind, some magical chords, like some ninths, sevenths, you know. Beautiful. I was just improvising. And I wanted to put it like that in the album, but I thought something is needed here. So I had the chance to have the voice of Christine Plotions. She's a writer and she's a poet and she's a body therapist and actually she's a teacher. She's also a singer and dancer, so she's a very talented woman. So she put a poetry on the song, talking about 2020. The result of humanity in 2020. It's a very interesting song, you should hear it. It's like 5-minute song. I just improvise behind, and Christine in front she speaks.
Ah.
It's in English. She speaks in English. Yeah. So yeah, this song is it's an emotional song. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and that's the last song of the
I am
album.
human, and I have 5 bodies. I move, I think, I feel, I sense, I have a purpose. This is it. Nothing more and nothing less. It is 2020, and it could be that simple. Fear everywhere. I am sad because I feel Mother Earth in turmoil, out of breath, suffering from our irresponsible ways.
The album was recorded during 3 years.
During 3 years.
Yeah.
It was a 3-year process.
As I told you yesterday, it's like a baby elephant, 2 baby elephants that should have birth. So the album was recorded for like a period of 3 years. In bass there is Walid Halimi. In drums Smail Jabioun. Keyboards, piano Yunus Akharraz. Guitar Ala. And there's a track where Mahfoud Janadi plays also, you know. Me in guitar and vocals. And we should give a big credit please to Cranky. Alpha Music Studio, yeah, Cranky. Right. Yeah, because he was patient enough to move with us during these 3 years, to give it time, you know, not to release it quick, you know. He also gave us some advice in the sound, like telling us you should do this again, do it all over again.
Oh, wonderful.
You know, he was like caring. He was just not behind the studio, behind the cabin.
One more take.
He was very patient.
When are you ready?
So it was recorded in Alpha's music studio with Cranky. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Yeah, Cranky is a cool guy and very talented producer.
Yeah.
I listened to
you
the
have the
tracks.
chance to meet. You had the chance to meet him, right?
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Cool guy.
Yeah, cool.
Amazing man.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for the interview.
Thank you.
It was a
Adi,
pleasure.
thank you. It was my pleasure.
Oh
Yeah.
man, I hope we can record again, bro.
We can record again anytime you want, my bro. You do your trips
good.
and we meet again, of course. And I wish you the best luck, of course. Head road music, the best. Das Beste.
Das Beste. Thank you, Naji.